UFC 266 Volkanovski versus Ortega takes place in only a matter of hours, and I'm going to go through my last minute detailed prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. I'm not just saying who I think is going to win, I'm trying to call everything down to a T. I'm calling the submission that will be used to get a submission win, the limb that will be used to get a KO win, the scorecards at the end if it does go to a decision, and just how every single round of the fight is going to play out minute by minute, starting with the early prelim opener of Jonathan Pearce versus Omar Moraes. I'm picking Omar Moraes to win this one, but how do I see him doing it? I think Jonathan Pearce is going to go out there, take down Omar Moraes in the first round, but I think Omar Moraes is going to get back to his feet. He's a big guy for the division, and I think that Jonathan Pearce is going to gas himself out, being inefficient and not getting enough control time for his takedown attempts against Omar Moraes, and I think Omar Moraes eventually, as this fight goes on, is going to start taking over. I can see a 29-28 unanimous decision win, or a 30-27, but I have to make a decision here. I'm going to go with 30-27 for Omar Moraes here. I think Jonathan Pearce is going to be desperately going for takedowns. I don't see him winning this one on the feet whatsoever. I think whilst they're on the feet, Omar Moraes is going to be landing a lot of jabs, some leg kicks as well, once he does defend a couple of Jonathan Pearce's takedowns and gets a little bit more confidence in himself. I think he starts to chop at the legs, starts to land some body kicks as well. Once he realizes that he can stop the takedowns of Jonathan Pearce, I think he starts opening up with more body kicks in the second round. That starts to slow down Jonathan Pearce, and he starts just sort of desperately hanging on to Omar Moraes against the cage whilst losing the stand-up battle when they are at range in the center of the octagon. Omar Moraes gets this one done as the rounds go on. 30-27, I even think he secures himself the first round. Jonathan Pearce is probably going to get a couple of takedowns in the first, but Moraes will get right back up to his feet, turn Jonathan Pearce around against the cage, land a couple of knees, break away, get back to doing work at range. Omar Moraes gets this one done. 30-27, building as the fight goes on and having a very good third round for himself. Moving on up the card, Matthew Semelberger versus Martin Sano. Martin Sano is not UFC caliber. I'm going to be picking Matthew Semelberger to lay this man out cold in the first round. I have no idea, and I know this isn't just about that, and maybe I should go into the fight itself, but Martin Sano, it is a mystery how he is here. I don't get it. I know he's Nate Diaz's friend, but still, come on, like, I think he's going to get laid out cold in the first round by Matthew Semelberger. I think he's going to go out there, not touch gloves with Matthew Semelberger early, try and go after him, maybe land a couple of decent shots in a flurry rushing forward. They're both going to be patient. Matthew Semelberger will land a couple of leg kicks, a couple of front kicks to the body, a couple of jabs, start outstriking Martin Sano. Then Sano's going to be real frustrated with not being okay in the fight. He's going to be losing the first 2 minutes, I believe, of the fight. First 2 minutes are going to go to Matthew Semelberger, outstriking Martin Sano at range, and then Sano's going to get emotional. He's going to try and win it back for himself. He's going to rush forward against Matthew Semelberger, looking for a big flurry around the halfway point of the first round, and I think Matthew Semelberger just pulls back, lands a counter shot, and down goes Martin Sano. First round TKO to Matthew Semelberger. No, I'm going to go first round KO for Matthew Semelberger. I don't see him getting a TKO here. I think he just lays Martin Sano out cold, flat on his face, as he's moving backwards, as Martin Sano rushes in the first round. Moving on up the card, Cody Brundage versus Nick Maximov. I'm going to be going with Nick Maximov here, and I'm going to pick him to win by arm triangle submission at the end of the second round. But how does this fight play out? I think on the feet early, Nick Maximov is going to have a huge advantage. I think he uses his range well, starts picking at Cody Brundage with some jabs, starts landing some leg kicks as well, because he's not really going to worry about the grappling too much of Cody Brundage. Maybe Cody Brundage does shoot a couple of takedowns first, and I think he is going to try and be first on those takedowns. I believe Nick Maximov is going to threaten with a guillotine. This is going to make Cody Brundage give up a single leg and not want to go for it, because Nick Maximov is so good at jiu-jitsu. I don't think he's going to want to be in those positions. So he's going to go for some single legs. Maximov is going to threaten with a couple of submission attempts, maybe a guillotine, maybe a Darce choke, and then that's going to stop Cody Brundage being so confident about trying to take down Nick Maximov and trying to be first in the grappling. Then towards the end of the first round, I think Nick Maximov is going to start looking to take down Cody Brundage after some good leg kicks that he's landed after wearing down Cody Brundage a bit. I believe Cody Brundage won't be dominated on the ground in the first round. He's a great wrestler. I think he's going to get back to his feet a couple of times against a cage, but he's still going to be against a cage with Nick Maximov on him, and I think that's going to lead to Nick Maximov going out there, landing some good knees to the thigh, lots of total strikes, couple of knees to the body as well against a cage, couple of punches in close in terms of total strikes, just wearing down Cody Brundage against a cage at the end of the first round, and also outstriking him at range whenever they're there as well, landing some good leg kicks, landing some good jabs as well with his reach advantage that he has. And then as the round goes on, Brundage is going to start to get a little bit more tired. In the second round, I think Brundage is going to try and mix it up again, start throwing some heavy heat at Nick Maximov. I think they're all going to miss. I don't think he's going to have the range for it. I think he's then going to try shooting some takedowns again. He's not going to get them. Nick Maximov sprawls back to his feet, threatens a submission. Brundage bails on it, gets back into the clinch. Maximov starts landing some good knees to the body, couple of good shots as well, pushing Brundage against a cage. I believe this time towards the end of the second round, Maximov's going to commit to a double leg, scoop up Cody Brundage against a cage who's been worn down a little bit by some investment shots, and also some failed takedowns of his own are going to start wearing on his gas tank a bit. And I think Nick Maximov's going to pick him up in the second round, slam him in the center of the cage, take him immediately into side control, and then put in the arm triangle against Cody Brundage here, who I think is just going to be a little bit worn down by the pressure and the failure that he's had so far in the fight. Nick Maximov, at the end of the second round, will secure an arm triangle choke. Moving on up the card, Uros Medic versus Jalin Turner. I'm going to go with Uros Medic by first round TKO here. I think these are going to be a great set of prelims. I'm going with Uros Medic by first round TKO against Jalin Turner. I can see Jalin Turner winning this fight for the duration of it. I think he's going to win about the first minute and a half. He'll be landing some leg kicks, maybe some front kicks to the body, maybe a couple of stiff jabs land from Jalin Turner. Then I think Jalin Turner is going to sort of get baited into chasing Uros Medic around, who's going to be circling around on the outside, trying to land some leg kicks of his own, throwing some high kicks into the arms of Jalin Turner that are going to be blocked but still hurt the arms. Jalin Turner starts to feel himself, starts to close down Uros Medic a bit, trying to trap him against a cage. That's when he's going to go for a shot against Uros Medic. Uros is going to slip it, land a big shot over the top of a lazy jab of Jalin Turner, and crack Jalin Turner in the first round, rocking him badly, chasing him down afterwards, landing big shots to the body, landing big body kicks as Jalin Turner's shelling up his face against a cage, trying to cover up, trying to recover from being concussed, and that's when he's going to go down to some body shots, go down to some headshots as well. Overall damage is being poured on by Uros Medic against a cage against Jalin Turner, and he finishes off the job with a couple of ground and pound strikes, and he celebrates like a fucking maniac. Uros Medic gets this one done by first round TKO. Moving on to the prelims. Roxanne Modaferri versus Taila Santos. I'm going to go with Taila Santos here, but I'm going to predict that this will be an embarrassment to women's MMA and MMA in general, of course. But I see Taila Santos winning this one, and I see her winning this one on the grappling, but not in the first round. I think she wins this one via 30-26 unanimous decision here against Roxanne Modaferri. I think the first round is going to be a close back and forth striking match. Taila Santos is going to get the better of it, maybe rock Roxanne Modaferri at one point in the round and make her go a little bit jelly-legged and wobbly all over the place, but she's going to survive by holding on in the clinch against Taila Santos. But Taila Santos is going to start to push her up against the cage, land some good knees to the body, land some good shots at range as well, and slowly start to break down Roxanne Modaferri. Then, in the second round, they're going to be striking again. Taila Santos is going to win the first 2 minutes of the striking game. Modaferri's going to start rushing in to try and make something happen. That's when Taila Santos is going to level change, take her down, secure half guard, and total strike her way to the end of the second round, winning herself the second round, then winning herself the third round exactly the same way, getting down Roxanne Modaferri, taking half guard, landing some total strikes, but this time she passes over into side control, gets in the crucifix position, lands some elbows there, gets back into mount position, lands some good shots there. Then Roxanne Modaferri turns over, giving up her back in the third round. Santos goes for a rear naked, but can't quite get it, but she's landing punches whilst having the back of Roxanne Modaferri. Then ends up on top again, landing more shots. It's just not going to be enough to get a finish, but I believe we'll see a 10-8 in the third round by Taila Santos here against Roxanne Modaferri. It's going to be a decent one, I believe, but I believe Taila Santos gets it done 30-26 in exactly that fashion. Moving on up the card, Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Chris Daukaus. I'm going to go with Chris Daukaus by first round TKO. I hope the card goes how I think it's going to go, because it'll be a fun card if it does. Chris Daukaus, I believe is going to win by first round TKO against Shamil Abdurakhimov. I think they're both going to be very, very patient in the first round. A lot of nothing. You're going to hear the feet shimmying around all over the place. You'll hear them breathing. You'll hear them touching each other with a couple of shots on the gloves, on the guard. A couple of shots get blocked. Maybe a couple kicks get checked. Daukaus starts landing some good shots. Shamil starts sort of peppering, trying to land some shots of his own, but I don't think they're going to be landing, and I think Daukaus is going to start slipping out the way of some of them. And then Shamil is going to throw a big shot against Chris Daukaus, and Daukaus is going to dip under it, land an overhand over the top of it, and crack Shamil Abdurakhimov in the first round, hurting him badly. Then, and this is the big difference though, once he's cracked Shamil Abdurakhimov, I think Abdurakhimov's going to realise he's hurt, back himself up against the cage to try and be defensive. Then Daukaus is going to rush in looking for a finish. Shamil's going to shoot a takedown. He's going to get the takedown, but immediately Daukaus is going to work his way back up to his feet. Shamil's going to be looking up, like trying to grab at a leg, sort of drunkenly, sort of how Weidman was against Jacare Souza, if you remember that finish. And Daukaus is going to start sort of grabbing the back of his head and just shoveling shots into his face, Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold style. And I think Shamil's going to sort of just cover up on the ground, shelter up. Daukaus is going to notice this, take the backside, start pounding away again, and just get the TKO finish in the first round on Shamil, just sort of not really wanting to get back up with enough urgency after being rocked and failing a takedown against Daukaus. And I'm going to go with Chris Daukaus getting this one done. First round TKO, big shot of concussion, stuffs a takedown, goes for ground and pound afterwards on a noticeable, rocked Shamil Abdurakhimov on the ground. Daukaus gets this one done in the first round. Moving on up the card, Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Haqparast. I'm going to go with a KO again. This could be one of the best cards of all time. I'm going Dan Hooker by... How do I want to do this, though? That's the big question. I'll go second round TKO for Dan Hooker at the start of the second round. I'm changing it. I said it would happen at the end of the first round. I'm going to say it happens at the start of the second round. I believe they go out there. Both guys are going to have a technical striking match for the first 15 minutes. Don't see any takedown attempts from either guy whatsoever. I believe Dan Hooker's going to be outlanding Nasrat Haqparast at range. I think he's going to be stinging him in the face with a jab with that reach advantage that he does have. I think he's going to sting the face of Nasrat Haqparast with a jab in the first round. Land a couple of right hands as well, but I think Nasrat's going to land a couple of big shots too. But Dan Hooker's just going to land way more of them, and he's going to land them at a much more frequent rate than Nasrat is. And I think he's going to start peppering the jab in Nasrat's face, start swelling up an eye of Nasrat Haqparast, start chopping at the legs as well, start going shin to shin, calf kicks with Dan Hooker and Nasrat. He's going to start slamming into the shin of Nasrat Haqparast, slamming into the calf of Nasrat Haqparast, chopping at those legs. Nasrat's going to noticeably hurt his leg whenever Hooker does this. Then he's going to start walking a little bit gingerly, start pouring at his eye because it's now swollen up from the jab of Dan Hooker that's been sticking in his eye hole. And then Nasrat in the second round, after a bit of a motivational speech from his corner team, saying you've got to go out there, you've got to be first, you've got to make something happen here, you're losing this fight with one eye swollen and a bad leg that doesn't really support himself too much. I think he's going to go out in the second round, be patient, explode out of nowhere, looking to make something happen first, rather than sitting back and getting outstruck. And that's when Dan Hooker's going to pull back, land his counter hook on Nasrat Haqparast, rock him badly down to one knee. Nasrat's going to give up. Not give up, sorry. He's not going to give up. He's going to secede to a bad position after being dropped to one knee. Instead of looking to get right back up where he potentially could be KO'd out cold on the feet, I think he's going to opt to go to his back and try and defend there and buy himself some time to recover because he's just been slumped to one knee. So he's tip himself backwards, be on his back, sort of invite Dan Hooker into his guard while still being a bit concussed, and I think Dan Hooker's just going to fucking throw those legs to the side, start pounding away like he did against James Vick, and put out Nasrat Haqparast on the canvas in the second round. Dan Hooker gets it done and calls out Beneil Dariush as well. Moving on up the card, Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. I'm going to be going with Merab Dvalishvili by third round submission to an arm triangle choke. I'm going with Merab, third round submission here. I don't see many decisions on this card happening, and I think that's why they've made the prelims in this fashion, just to steal the show a little bit. I'm going to go with Merab in the third round by submission. I think in the first round, Marlon Moraes is going to land a couple of good leg kicks, couple of good kicks that are going to be blocked by Merab, but they're going to slam into the arms of Merab. Merab's going to land a big shot. Moraes is going to take it, but now he's going to be a little bit more hesitant because he's been hit by a big punch by Merab Dvalishvili. Merab's then going to go for some takedowns against the cage. I think Marlon Moraes is going to surprise a lot of people by how easily he stuffs the early takedowns in this fight, and I'm going to give the first round 10-9 to Marlon Moraes. I think there's going to be some moments where Merab's going to shoot on him, and he's going to like hip toss Merab over, end up on top, get on top of Merab, land a couple of good shots. Merab's going to scramble back up on a single leg. Moraes might pull a guillotine, notice it's not quite in, abandon it in the first round. Merab's going to stick on that single leg, push Moraes up against the cage, try a takedown again, get the takedown maybe, but Moraes is going to work his way back up to his feet, landing a couple of punches in the clinch, landing a couple of knees on the break, and then separating, landing a leg kick, smashing some kicks into the arms of Merab again. He'll win himself the first round 10-9. The second round comes around. Merab starts getting some takedowns. He starts getting some control time. He starts passing over the guard of Marlon Moraes into half guard, establishing a bit of a better position. Moraes is still going to be getting back up in certain moments against the cage, getting to one knee, but this time Merab's going to stick to him a little bit better because Moraes doesn't quite have the explosiveness to break free of Merab's grip. So even though Moraes in the second round is still going to be defending some takedowns, I think Merab's going to be stuck to him like glue with the body lock, landing some good shots. Moraes starts to give in a little bit in the third round, starts to get a little bit tired. Merab ends up on top, landing big shots again. Moraes tries to scramble, can't quite do it, still ends up on bottom, tries to scramble again, doesn't quite have the energy to do it, still ends up on bottom. Merab eventually sees the opportunity on a bit of a gassed out Marlon Moraes, who doesn't quite have the defensive work that he once had in the first two rounds, goes for the arm triangle, strength-based submission, taps Marlon Moraes in the third round, who's a little bit gassed out. Merab gets to finish in the third. Moving on to the main card, Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade winning this one by ground and pound TKO, just like... No. I'm going to go Jessica Andrade with a big shot that rocks Cynthia Calvillo in the first round, after Calvillo maybe pops some jabs out there that don't really do anything whatsoever. Andrade is going to be moving ahead, landing big shots over the top. You're going to start to see the face of Cynthia Calvillo sort of realise, oh wait, this isn't a women's flyweight, this is a women's strawweight, they're actually kind of good. And Cynthia Calvillo, who's also a women's strawweight, is going to start thinking, oh well, I'm not doing too good here. I'm starting to take some big shots. You're going to start to see a bit of fear on her face. She's going to start being hesitant about throwing, and that's when Andrade is going to start ripping shots against her, volume punches against the cage, and I think Cynthia Calvillo is going to get standing TKO'd in the first round, just shelling up, because Andrade is pouring on the pressure, landing big shots. Calvillo scoots to the side, running around the outside of the cage, really in bad trouble, but wants to survive. But Andrade is going to be chasing her down, landing big shots, making noises as she punches as well. Andrade by first round TKO standing. Moving on up the card, Curtis Blaydes versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes by second round elbow TKO from full guard on the ground, I believe. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is going to be very patient early, tapping it inside leg kicks, keeping his range, trying to stick jabs out there as much as he can, trying to use check hooks as much as he can. I think Blaydes is going to bait Rozenstruik to throw by not committing to anything early. I think Blaydes is going to do a bunch of big pronounced steps, like a big stomp that he does to try and act like he's going to use it in momentum to go forward. Jairzinho's going to wing out a check hook. Nothing's going to be there. Blaydes is going to stick on the outside. Maybe Blaydes lands a decent jab. Maybe Blaydes lands a very hard leg kick on Jairzinho. Maybe Blaydes lands a couple of teeps to the body, a couple of front kicks to the body as well. Jairzinho starts worrying a bit. End of the first round comes around. Blaydes has got Rozenstruik down with a beautiful double leg in the center of the cage. Gets over his guard. Starts landing some total strikes. Starts landing some decently big shots. Rozenstruik defends well enough on the ground to survive. But in the second round, Rozenstruik's going to be sweating beyond belief. He's going to be really mentally defeated. He's just been taken down, the one thing he didn't want to be. He's on the ground. He's taken some shots. He's going to be worried about that on the feet. In the second round, he goes to throw a check hook on Blaydes, who's faking like he's going to come in for an exchange. Blaydes ducks underneath, scoops up the legs again, gets another double leg. This time, Rozenstruik's going to feel safe in full guard. big problem when you're against a guy like Curtis Blaydes. Rozenstruik might get his guard past, but might get his guard back into full guard. Feel like he's safe. Start feeling a little bit okay with himself on the ground. He hasn't passed my guard. I think I'm okay here. Then Blaydes is just going to pop up from the full guard, land a huge elbow, KO Rozenstruik out cold. Couple follow-up elbows as well. They call off the fight. Blaydes gets it done in the second round. Moving on up the card. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. I'm going with Robbie Lawler here by first round standing TKO. And I think there's going to be complaints about the stoppage, but I think it's going to be justified. I'm going to go with Nick Diaz. Going out there early, throwing a couple of kicks, like a side kick, like a flamboyant lead kick to the head that's not really going to do anything. Lawler's going to swing some big shots, land big on Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is going to be like, okay, recompose himself, try and get back on the inside, try and pump some jabs out there. It's not going to work again. Robbie Lawler's going to tag him again with a huge shot. Nick Diaz is going to take it, try and recompose himself, get back in there, start throwing some jabs, commit with a right hand, get tagged with a big counter by Lawler again. Lawler follows up with a body kick, a hard leg kick, another body kick as well, a big shot upstairs. Nick Diaz is taking some big blows here. He then goes in again, trying to fake it out, do some couple movements, try and grab at the hands of Lawler, try and make something change. Lawler cracks him again. Nick Diaz sort of wobbles back against the cage, starts bracing himself to defend himself. Lawler pours it on, starts landing some big shots. Nick Diaz is covered up. He's trying to throw back, but he gets hit even harder again. Rocked again against the cage. Hit to the body a couple of times by Lawler. Couple of knees from Lawler start landing. Some jump knees into the face, into the body of Nick Diaz, into the chest area as well. Lawler's pouring it on. Lawler's pouring it on. Defend yourself. Fight back, Nick. Fight back. Show me you're in there. Show me you're in there. Fight back. Fight back. And it's over. They call off the fight. Nick Diaz complains about it. Nick Diaz gets up like, what? The whole crowd is booing, even though it's a justified stoppage. Robbie Lawler's screaming all over the place, getting amped up. He's back. Nick Diaz gets finished by TKO in the first round standing. I'm sorry. I don't want it to happen, but I think it's going to happen. Moving on up the card. Valentina Shevchenko versus Lauren Murphy. Technical striking match in the first round. Valentina Shevchenko goes out there, lands a couple of good leg kicks, lands a couple of good kicks to the arms of Lauren Murphy, to the body of Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy starts throwing some punches. Everyone laughs in the audience at how bad it is. Murphy shoots a takedown. Shevchenko sprawls it, gets back to the distance, turns it around against the cage, but this time Lauren Murphy's going to turn her around against the cage, start landing some knees to the thigh. The commentary is going to be going crazy about how Lauren Murphy is holding Shevchenko against the cage. Isn't this crazy that we're seeing this right now? Lauren Murphy is tough. She's tough, man. Look how tough this woman is right now. She's in there. She doesn't give a shit. That's what they're going to be saying and stuff like that. Shevchenko's going to be winning the clinch exchanges, landing knees in the clinch, landing body shots in the clinch, break herself away, get range, land some good shots again in the first round. Second round comes around. This time Lauren Murphy's a little bit beaten up. She's eating some kicks to the body, some knees to the body. Maybe she's cut over her eye or something like that from a close range elbow from Shevchenko in the clinch. Then Shevchenko starts landing big shots. Lauren Murphy shoots again. This time it's pathetic. Shevchenko sprawls it, takes the backside, lands a couple of good shots. Lauren Murphy falls to her back. Shevchenko welcomes that, gets on top, gets into half guard, lands a couple of good shots again, gets into side control, lands a couple of good shots again, gets into a crucifix position on top, and I think she finishes Lauren Murphy exactly the same way that she finished Jessica Andrade, in that crucifix position, landing big punches. She loves to do it. I believe she did it against Priscilla Cachoeira as well. Valentina Shevchenko by first round crucifix TKO, DC Ozdemir style, and Lauren Murphy's going to be done, but everyone's going to say how brave she is and how stunning she is for even going out there to be sacrificed, and Shevchenko's going to remain the flyweight queen. Moving on up the card, Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. I believe it's going to be a great fight. I really do think it's going to be a great fight. I think in the early rounds, Volkanovski's going to have more success than Brian Ortega. I think Volkanovski is going to win every round of this fight, but I think Ortega's going to have some moments that make you go, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be some of that kind of situation going on. First round comes out. Volkanovski's landing good shots. He's jabbing at the body of Brian Ortega. He's tapping away at inside leg kicks. He's chopping at the calf of Brian Ortega. Ortega might land a couple of good leg kicks back, but Volkanovski checks more of them than Ortega checks of Volkanovski. Volkanovski lands a couple more inside leg kicks. A good jab to the body again. A jab upstairs. This time he starts mixing it in a little bit. Ortega starts making his way in to do some slick shit like some uppercuts or some knees up the middle. I think Volk's not going to buy it. He's just going to dip down, land a big shot over the top on Ortega's head, pop his head back. Ortega's going to realize he can't just close the distance like he was against a Korean zombie. Volkanovski goes back at range, landing jabs to the body, landing inside leg kicks. First round's done. It's looking bad for Ortega. Second round, Volkanovski gets right back to doing the same thing. Inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks. They both had some moments in the first round. Ortega's maybe landed a couple of good counter shots on Volkanovski, but Volkanovski's outlanded him like 20-10 on significant strikes, I believe. Second round, Volk does the same thing for the first 3 minutes. Ortega's landing some shots, couple of good shots, couple of good jabs, whilst Volkanovski is landing jabs. Volk starts dipping under the jabs, landing them to the body. Inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, the Volkanovski shit that he always does. Pushes Ortega against a cage, maybe. Has some moments there where he's punching Ortega in the face while getting good head position on Ortega. Ortega might reach up for a guillotine. The crowd goes, oh! It's not going to be in. Volkanovski fights out of it just by grabbing a hand. It's not really going to be a great guillotine attempt. Knees to defy from Volkanovski, punches to the body, head position, punching up top on Ortega's face, which is starting to swell up in the eye from the constant shots that Volko's landing. Then they're going to break from the clinch at the end of the second round. Volk's going to nod to himself, I've done enough to win that round. He's going to go in again to try and seal the deal and just make sure. Ortega's going to crack him with a big shot. Volk gets a little bit rocked, starts going, oh, but composes himself. Backing up, Ortega's going to come rushing in, missing a bunch of shots, but it's going to be like a big moment where people are like, oh, now we've got ourselves a fight, much like the Holloway situation in the second round as well. Volk's going to compose himself, get back out there in the third. Ortega's going to be doing better at the start of the third round, but he's going to be eating these calf kicks, eating the inside leg kicks, eating the jabs to the body. A couple of lead left hooks to the body is going to start landing from Volkanovski. A couple of bigger right hands over the top. The eye of Brian Ortega's starting to swell up a little bit more. He's got a cut over his left eye from a couple of close range elbows from Volko in the clinch when he pushes him up against a cage. Volk's going to push him up against a cage again in the third round. Ortega's going to land a couple of good shots. Maybe a head kick lands into the arms of Volk. A body kick from Ortega lands. A couple of front kicks to the body. A couple of his own leg kicks. He starts having a little bit of success around the midway point of the third round. So Volk switches it up, pushes him against a cage, gets back to what he was doing without with the minute and a half left of the third round. Couple of shots to the fire, couple of knees to the fire, couple of punches upstairs as well, couple of digging shots to the body. He breaks, lands a big elbow on Ortega, rocks him quite badly in the third round, slices open that cut even more. Ortega's bleeding, he's got a swollen eye, his body's hurting, he's starting to slow down. He can't step on his leg all the weight because he's been destroyed by Volkanovski's calf kicks. Volkanovski's going to nod to himself in confidence in the third round. Then the fourth round begins. Volkanovski starts pressuring Ortega against a cage, but this time he plays a different game. Has his moments, but separates with elbows, then starts landing hooks to the body. This is where the fight's going to change, I believe. Ortega's going to be being pushed up against a cage. Volk's got head positioning, landing some good shots. He's going to break, go for an elbow. Ortega might throw like a Hail Mary spinning elbow that misses. That's going to give up some position. Volkanovski starts digging hooks to the body. Bang, bang! He's going to start making noises like he did against Chad Mendes as well. To the body of Brian Ortega, who's trying to shell up. Volkanovski starts going up higher. Volkanovski really lands a couple of good shots up high on Brian Ortega, who lifts his hands back up to defend himself. Couple of big more body shots from Volkanovski. Some jump knees to the body. Big left hook to the liver from Volkanovski. Drops Brian Ortega against a cage. Volkanovski pours it on. Lands big shots while Brian Ortega's shelling up, trying to reach for a single leg, but he can't quite get to it. His body's hurting too much, and he just gets smashed on the ground. TKO finish. Alexander Volkanovski. Fourth round TKO. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Hopefully it goes exactly how I just said, because that would make me some kind of genius. We'll see how it goes. See you later.